Okay, I want to call this meeting to order. Roll call, William Johnston,
Yeah.
Thomas Graffinino,
Here.
Wayne Colligan,
Here?
Lisa Kreckler is excused, Phil Diorio is here. Do we have the town attorney here? Stephen Kiley is on Zoom. First order of business is to review and approve the April 27th, 2022 minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have two applications to discuss tonight. The first is 6 Serpentine Drive. Just so that everybody refamiliarizes with it, yourselves with it. It's an 8-foot fence there on the property. It's on a private road. There are some grapevines being grown there. And we heard from the applicant and his attorney. The attorney attempted to create a layered effect for us and convince us that the fence was a good idea. There were letters supporting and against the application. The Heights weighed in negative declaration, I guess. And then since then, we have received a few more pieces of correspondence. Christina, do you think you could summarize those for us?
I think both of them were letter of, oh no, this
Or do you want me
was,
to just do it?
oh, if you want to.
Okay, so we received a letter from Ann Searchin. She is a neighbor to the property. She is not in favor of the approval of the fence. And we also received.
It's Roberta Martin. This one.
Roberta Martin?
Yep,
Yeah.
it doesn't have a name, but I reached out to
This one.
Stella to clarify who's the
Okay,
letter
so
from.
that's another from Roberta Martin in support of the application. And then we did also receive an email from Mr. Asseline saying that he felt there was a misunderstanding. He wanted to talk to the Heights Property and Roads Committee, and he'd be happy to speak with us again. At this point, the hearing is closed. We have received all our written correspondence, and I'd like to open it up to the floor to discuss the application.
I revisited this evening just because the first time I visited, it was inclement and rainy. And what the attorney referred to as the steel elements, which are really the posts of the fence. I guess that's the only, even though they're architectural, I guess you'd call them posts. They were quite prominent, wide and reflective. And even though the wire, the horizontal wire was less so, I do believe that these 8-foot steel posts are quite significant and problematic.
Agree.
I concur. I again love the cable part of that, and you can see pretty much through it, but you still do have 8-foot posts
Right.
that you're looking at.
I would say this, that, the town code allows for an 8-foot fence for up to 10% of a property.
Right.
If you want to have a deer-proof section of your property for gardening or whatever that it is that you want to grow to keep the deer out. I think that 8-foot fences will drive to your neighbor's properties.
Or the road.
Or the road, right? And this is the third application that we've had for an 8-foot fence in the last few years. One other was on a private road, it was denied. And I don't think that it's, I think folks are coming here and hoping that perhaps the ZBA will grant some relief and that we'll sort of be rewriting the zoning code on this. And I don't want to get involved in doing that. I think that if at some point the town board decides that it's time to allow everyone to have an 8-foot fence, then they can change the code that way. But until then, I just don't think it's something that we should start approving. I don't know if there's any support for an 8-foot fence here.
No,
No.
what you're saying makes sense to me.
Yeah, I believe it's up to the town to, if they want to change the law, they change the law. we've got to follow the rules and regulations.
Stephen, is there anything that you would like us to consider here? You're muted.
No, I apologize for the phantom thumbs up. For some reason, my iPad likes to do that. Even though I do give you a thumbs up for your work. But in this particular case, you're right. The code is what the code is, but you're supposed to weigh every application on its own merits and see if it deserves via the standards, whether or not a deviation from the code is warranted. So if you have decided that that's not the case here, that's fine, but the town code absolutely should be respected, but it's not gospel for the zoning board of appeals.
Agreed, Stephen. If there could be a circumstance where an 8-foot fence would make sense.
But he's got his whole property.
Right, I just,
It's too much.
I just don't see it in this case.
Well, we'll go through the checklist.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody ready for the checklist?
Yeah.
So I guess what we're looking at is an area variance, right? Even though it's a height variance, it's still whatever, some sort of area variance that we're talking about here. And so for us to grant an area variance, we have to consider the 5 following factors. The first is whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties.
I would say yes.
Yes, because it's in the Heights
the
Historic
Heights.
District, and there is no such fence like it, either in character or height.
Okay, anybody else? I think that an 8-foot fence, as I think drives the deer to the neighbor's property and to the road.
So that would be the detriment to nearby
Yeah.
properties.
Mhm.
Okay, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance.
Yeah, we talked about other solutions, didn't we? Like
Sure, there,
double fencing,
Yeah.
I wrote down netting.
yeah, I believe that there are solutions that work. A double 4-foot fence with some spacing in between can
Right.
absolutely work. So I would say that yes. And so we're going to say that it could have a double 4-foot fence could work.
If I may chime in, also the garden fence alternative that you referenced is a major viable alternative for the applicant.
Right, so outside of the front yard setback, in another area of the property, they could have 10% of the property fenced in with an 8-foot fence. And that would in
Right.
fact allow him to grow some grapes in that section of the property.
That's correct.
Number
And just
three-
for the, I'm sorry, and just to remind you, he said that the backyard was a viable alternative because he said he was planning on growing grapes in the back. So it's not like he has to grow them in the front yard due to, sun or, shading and anything like that. So I just wanted to refresh the board's recollection as to that point.
Whether the requested variance is substantial. I would say that it's quite substantial. The fencing that's allowed, particularly in the front yard setback, is 4 feet. So this is double the height allowed.
Plus the
And-
linear feet of just the,
Right, and
Right.
then also even in the side yard where in backyard where it's 6 feet, it's still a 25% ask. So I would say that this is a substantial request.
Yeah, definitely.
would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
Would the deer moving onto the road or into neighboring
Yes.
properties count for that?
Yeah,
Definitely.
and whether this alleged difficulty was self-created?
Yes.
Yes. They put up an 8-foot fence despite the fact that the town code did not allow it. Okay, do we have any more to discuss on this application?
I don't believe so.
All right, the next application. This is for area variance and a special permit for 5 Cheapwood Avenue. Again, just to remind everybody, this is to remove a small porch that has a strangely large step down from the house and replace it with a slightly bigger porch, which unfortunately, part of it is in the, going to be in the setback.
Side yard setback.
Yes. So I see it as a pretty small intrusion, but I'd like to get everybody to chime in here.
You had written down modest, and I also wrote down pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah.
It seemed not major at all to me during the hearing. I did note there was some wording though about it needs to say side yard. Maybe it didn't state side yard. I wrote that down.
Yeah, it was a wrong, there was a front yard.
It said
Should
front
be-
yard by
yeah.
accident.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to note that. And that it's in the character of the nature of that neighborhood anyway. So
And,
I didn't have any problem.
yeah, and the reality is that the actual, there's a large section of the house that's only 6.9 feet from the property line on that side yard. This is far removed compared to that.
Right.
I don't think it
Inside
really
the
has,
boundary, yeah.
right, I really don't feel like it has any negative impact here. And it will address a somewhat unsafe step
Bless you.
situation.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, there was a request from the HPOC to include some restrictions on parking and whatnot, but since, I mean, if you look at this side part of the project and it's a complete rental of the house, we're talking about maybe 1/2 or 1% of the total build on that. And I don't think that we should be adding restrictions for that and it would be impossible, as Stephen actually mentioned, to sort of separate who's working on this and who's working on that and impose those restrictions on those people or to impose it on the whole job.
Mhm.
I drive down that way quite a bit. And,
It's usually 1 or 2 vehicles.
yeah, and it's two-way, for
Right.
that small side road width, you could still have two-way traffic.
And,
Right.
and,
And slow traffic too,
I'm
not going through.
I'm pretty certain that none of those folks are looking to create a traffic problem on Cheapwood Avenue. I also am pretty sure if there is some sort of traffic problem created, they'll know about it pretty quick.
Mhm. That sounds reasonable.
Any more discussion on this one? Anybody?
Just other than that, it needs to change to side yard. That's all I had to say.
Yeah. Agree.
All right, so let's, we'll work on the area variance worksheet first. Whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties.
No.
Um,
I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna say that this doesn't intrude any closer in the side yard.
Additionally, there was the letter of support from the Heights.
Thank you, Stephen. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. So
I would say no.
I would say, no, for me, this is about the smallest possible redo here. Do everybody agree with that?
Yes.
So I say the smallest possible alternative. Whether the requested variance is substantial. Anybody want to weigh in?
Doesn't seem substantial.
No, it's only, I forget exactly. the
It's a
feet,
few feet, yeah, it's
Yeah.
3.22 or something.
Something like that.
So I want to say that the requested variance is not substantial.
Right.
Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood?
No, if anything, it'll make that staircase.
You got,
More
you got
safe.
hedges there.
Yeah.
You can see it from the road. you're right.
Okay, so I'm going to say that it's actually going to have, I think, a positive impact straightening out that bad step seam there. And was the alleged difficulty self-created? I'm going to say yes, because they want to straighten this out. That seemed
Yeah,
reasonable.
maintain their property, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it is, they could have just, left it the way it was. So I would say yes.
They
it's
wanted to
self-created.
enhance their
Right.
safety.
Okay, now we also have a special permit for this because this slightly increases the bulk non-conformity of this house. Very slightly, but here we go. Is the proposed use the most appropriate use of this land?
Yes. Residential.
Yeah. Will the use be detrimental to surrounding property values?
No.
No.
I think that the improvement of the house will actually help neighbor property values. Okay. Will the use cause an overcrowding of land or undue concentration of population?
No.
No.
Is the site suitable for the location of such use in the town? Yes.
Yeah.
Is the proposal harmonious with the character of the existing and probable development of uses in the vicinity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's say yes, it's gonna fit right in. Is it the proposed, is
Is
the
the-
proposed use accessible for fire and other emergency apparatus?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the proposed use unreasonably near a church, school, theater, recreational area, or other place of public assembly? So it is close to the yacht club or the tennis court, but I don't think it's unreasonably
No.
close to
No.
either of them. I guess it's also close to the ferry line. It's a
Right.
place of public assembly to some degree, I guess, right? Will the proposed use interfere with established uses in the neighborhood?
No.
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 Are the driveways and sidewalks adequate to assure the public safety and avoid traffic congestion? Now, they're just as adequate as they were
Yeah.
for the last.
I
time
think they got a
years.
sidewalk on that side. Their house, isn't it, Tommy?
On that side, not
Yeah.
on the south side.
Right.
Yeah. Are there adequate facilities for the treatment, removal, or discharge of sewage, refuse, or other effluent from this use?
Yes.
Yes. Will the proposed use cause odors, dust, light, or noise? And if so, how can the impact be minimized? So there could be light from a light at the
Yeah.
entrance, but any light now has to be dark skies compliant. So I'm going to say that it should not cause any problems that way. Will the proposed use impact the aquifer and other important natural resources? And if so, how can they be protected? So
Be the same.
I can't see how this
No.
little porch is going to do any of that. It's a lot big enough for the proposed use and its reasonable anticipated operation and expansion. To say yes, I mean, the intrusion that we're talking about here is so small is there enough off-street parking for employees or visitors? And is parking laid out in a convenient and safe way? Yes, I mean, I see the construction vehicles parked there now. It seems like everything is pretty orderly there.
Mhm.
What buffers and screening are necessary to protect adjacent properties and land uses? I mean, there's
It's
existing,
there already.
yeah, they have nice existing vegetation. Having considered all these factors, the zoning board finds that the proposed use is in the best interest of the town, and the special permit use should be allowed, subject to the following conditions. Do we have any conditions to impose here?
Just other than dark skies on the lighting, but that's
Yeah,
in built
that's
in, right?
That's in the building.
Yeah.
permit. I want to say no conditions.
No.
Sound all right to you? All right. Stephen, is there anything else that you can think of that we need to address here?
No, Mr. Chairman. And just as a refresher, and I know you've been acting accordingly, conditions have to have a nexus to the amelioration of the requested relief. So like there has to be an absolute connection, again, to mitigate the harm of the requested relief.
Okay. All right, so I think we can close the meeting. It looks to be what time?
52?
7:52
52?
PM.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's closed.